at the waterfall, and they're going over everything, and he's like, "Hey, how about after this we go out to get something to eat?" And then she's like, "No," and he's like, "Oh, I was just kidding."
Yeah,
that right there is like, okay, like you can definitely tell he doesn't like he's not fully there.
He doesn't have the social cues that someone like a normal person would have. You know what I mean? Where it's like,
right.
Oh yeah, I know I just murdered your man, but hey, maybe I can be your new man.
There was,
you know,
wasn't there a scene where he was talking about like a grandfather smoking cigarettes or something, and he's like, "How old is he?" He's 87 and he's young and he's still good, and he's like, he's gonna die, like or something like that. I was like, God damn.
Yeah, well, it's funny because Elwood, at some point, you see him smoking too. And then when he goes and he recruits that young guy in the car, the young mechanic dude, right before they do the hit, is smoking in Elwood's car. And Elwood looks at him and he goes, that shit's going to kill you. And he's like, that's bullshit. My grandfather's 85 years old and he's fucking healthy as a horse. And then it cuts back to Elwood's face and he goes, oh yeah, but he's going to die soon.
So weird, dude. Oh, I actually have a question for you, Wes. What do you think the whole? You can kind of see a little side story with Sam and Bernadette, where they're obviously they're having sex, they're hooking up. They obviously feel something for each other, and she was unhappy with her marriage and stuff like that. He hadn't been with really. I know he mentions that he was married and he had a daughter at some point, but I'm not too sure what happened with them. But the scene where they kind of have that argument of, I think it's them trying to figure out what they're doing, and I think she asked him, like, "Are we doing this?" Or like, because I can tell she wants a relationship, and maybe he does, but he's kind of hesitant. Why do you think that is? Is it just because he feels wrong for what he's been doing this whole time?
So obviously, they let us know through dialogue that they had been doing this far before her husband was murdered. They were seeing each other on the low, but I think Sam was probably buddies with that dude, with her husband as well, or they were aware of each other, and so he felt guilty, and she felt guilty too, because they do this really creepy scene where she has she has a nightmare where her husband shows up in her home like decomposing. He's clearly dead, it's post-mortem, and he's like, how long have you been fucking him or whatever, and then she wakes up.
Yeah.
So obviously there's some heavy guilt there. But yeah, I think it was just like a out of respect thing, you know what I mean? Where he really did, they loved each other, but they just didn't know how to approach it. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was a really cool, like, side story, or like, little dilemma that was going on inside the main story of Elwood.
That's what I said. Like, there's so many different stories. It's just some, like, not that it was all over the place, but it was just like you have to really thoroughly. You probably have to watch this. I don't know how many times you guys watch this, but watch this like a few times and fully. For me, like, put the bridges between them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So whoever does watch this movie, you might have to watch it once or twice. And then you'll fully, like, then there would be stories, like James is like, there's more stories between all the characters. There's like bridges everywhere for me, which made it more of a thriller, because some things were, I feel like, weren't, I guess, like, fully connected all the way in the movie, but they still connect them towards the end and how it resolves, I guess. So that's what was pretty interesting.
Definitely.
Where is that little town located?
I think this was it's supposed to be set somewhere in Alaska, but it's actually British Columbia, I believe, is where most of so Canada.
Okay. And is it the one thing I really love about this movie is I can't really tell when it takes place because there's not really technology or anything like that kind of throws you or lets you know lets you be aware of what kind of time they're in.
Yeah.
Aside from the payphone, which I mean, there's still payphones around now.
Yeah.
In some kind of sometimes in some more rundown places. I mean, there was literally a payphone down the street from my house and in front of the 7-Eleven, and they just got rid of it. I think like 3-4 years ago. So I mean, it's uncommon to see a payphone now, but it's not like you're never going to see one again. But that's what I liked about this is you can kind of watch this and not be like aware of when the time period is.
Yeah, and it kind of takes the vibe of, since Elwood is a hitman, a payphone is more undetectable. So obviously, what you would use a payphone for that kind of job, I would say. I wouldn't be a hitman with a cell phone.
Unless you had like a burner or something, that you could throw away. Yeah. But yeah, no, I totally agree. It makes the film almost timeless. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And adds to the appeal. Even when he calls Lila, he's calling her landline to her house, and that's it. And then when they find the evidence when they link, to the very end that she had put Elwood up to the murders, to the triple homicide in the first place, it's because they find her number in the motel room, but it's a number handwritten on a piece of paper. And if it was contemporary, that would have been she would have been a contact in his cell phone. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's pretty interesting. It's a good little detail that you pointed out there, man.
Yeah, I mean, it could be like there's some towns out there that don't really have too many people have cell phones and stuff like that. It seems like one of those small towns. Yeah, I've always wanted to live in a town like that, like really small, like where everybody knows everybody. I thought that to me, I just think that's like super awesome and cool. I don't know. I just think it's a cool way to live.
Yeah, you might run into an Elwood out there. I don't know, man.
Yeah, that part wouldn't. I wouldn't like that part too much, but what would you? I don't know what else we're going to talk about with the movie, but this is your first time seeing this, right?
Yeah.
What would you rate this?
I would say like a 7.5 to an 8. Like it's in that range for me. I think it does well. It's still it does really well. Obviously, this movie I feel like didn't get as much attention, maybe in a certain way. Mm-hmm. But it does really well. I think people need to you got to sit for this one, and hopefully you're not too distracted watching it during COVID. I think this would be kind of crazier to see in the theater, maybe better in a way. Mm-hmm. You'll be more focused, But yeah, this movie is good. I give it an average, like a nice top average score. It's not going to be for me like it's probably not going to win anything, in a way. But yeah, it could sit up there and like be watched again, So.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I totally agree with you. If it were me, I'd probably have to rate it like a 8.5 or close to a 9, somewhere in that range, around there, high 8. But I enjoyed this movie. Like I said, it's not one of those movies that I necessarily picked it because it's like a nostalgic movie or something like that. But I mean, I enjoyed this movie so much. It's definitely entertaining. It's a slow burn, so if that kind of bothers you, it might not be the movie for you. Very dialogue heavy. which I enjoy in these types of movies. It's an hour and 45, so I feel like
that's not long at all.
I feel like it's paced very well too. It's a slow burn, but it doesn't feel like it's extremely long or like there's unnecessary things that you're seeing. What about you, Wes?
I think this is an easy 8 for me. Definitely has rewatch value. Obviously, a great cast, a great score. It's beautiful to look at. I would say that I was a little disappointed. I think the final runtime, the actual runtime of the movie, is just an hour and 33 minutes. So it's pretty short. I think for what they were trying to go for, it could have been a little longer. And not necessarily meaning to drag it out or anything, but I feel like I do agree with you that the pacing is well, but I feel done well, but I feel like there could have been a little bit more there, just because I was having so much of a good time. You know what I mean? Could have been a little longer. I wonder if there's like a longer cut to this or whatever, but it seemed a little short for the style that they were going for. Not that there was anything wrong with it, but it feels almost like, damn, like it's done already, but
right. Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Maybe like 15 minutes extra of scene somewhere that we might have missed. Maybe like 20 minutes extra. Maybe somewhere in the writing where it's like, we just don't need that, maybe,
Yeah.
That's what also goes down. But yeah, dude, it definitely like a different thriller, a different kind of thriller, It sits in the throne of like, it's just, I feel like maybe I've never seen this in a way, you could say, besides like always somebody dying at the end, but like,
you mean like never seeing a movie like this?
Yeah, I feel like it's very dreadful for kind of being simple, you know what I mean? And I think that's what kind of a good thing I could say about it.
It sets it apart, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Do we have Swan facts on this? Are we going into Swan facts, or is there something else that you want to talk about the film, Wes?
I only had 2 Swan facts, and one of them I think we already talked about. It was most of this film was actually, although it was based somewhere else in the screenplay, most of it was shot actually in British Columbia. I'm assuming maybe they didn't have the budget to shoot where the film was actually supposed to be based, but I mean, you can't tell anyway. And then the final Swan fact was the script was actually in 2012. It was on the Hollywood's blacklist for the best screenplays yet to be produced for a few years.
Oh, nice.
I mean, I think that was very deserving. This is a good script.
Yeah. For sure. I think that's, so it was, the actual location is in Canada, right?
Yes.
I
think it's a lot cheaper to shoot in Canada too.
Yeah, it is.
I know a lot of shows and movies shooting. I think a lot of stuff from Tron was shot in Canada.
That's because Canada. Well, I'm not saying this place, but there's a lot of like abandoned areas in Canada due to just like bad water and like the various oceanic regions get like destroyed by erosion and stuff. I don't know if this area is like that. It looks more inland. But it could still be one of those, like, maybe these certain towns that were sort of vacant, but still populated,
Mm-hmm.
That's what it looked like to me. And Canada, it'd just be fun to film there. To be honest. It's just so easy that you can do kind of a good script out of a place like that.
Yeah, very earthy.
That's probably why you want to live there. It looks very, like, homely, like I don't know, comfy sometimes.
Yeah.
Besides Elwood walking around, But yeah, I think, dude, it's because it's kind of a short movie. We touched on some really good details and you guys are obviously have more veteran watchers on this one too. So you guys, Wes got some key stuff down when he was talking about the details and stuff.